and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing and have our education given by Beth Weirman.
Wireman.
Wireman.
Yeah. I'm glad to be with you. Let us pray. Holy God, we express our gratitude for the opportunity to gather and to work together. Tonight we acknowledge the talents and abilities you have given to each of us. We all come from different experiences and concerns and joys in our lives, and specifically on this day. So we ask that you allow us to focus on what is most essential for the business of this evening. Those gathered here come with humble hearts, recognizing that the purpose is to serve others, to build up welcoming neighborhoods, to create safe and healthy communities. May those who lead and participate in this meeting approach their work with humility and a desire to serve the greater good. May each one put aside personal agendas and focus on what is best for all. Lord, with your support and guidance, assist everyone to communicate effectively, let words be clear and intentions good. Help all ideas to be discussed with clarity and with open minds and hearts. Let your truth guide the work, bless all efforts, and give joy to this common endeavor. Last but not least, we thank you for the opportunity to live, work, and play and serve in such a beautiful location as New Sewickley Township. As we enjoy the wonder of spring, strengthen us in our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits, so we may continue to care for each other and live in freedom and peace. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.
Security cameras were installed in the meeting room are for visual recordings for security purposes only. Members of the public may be recording the meeting. Amendments to the agenda. Do you have any amendments? Hearing none. Minutes, April 1st, 2025, regular meeting. We'll take action on that.
I move to approve the April 1st meeting minutes as submitted.
Second. Motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Steve? Yes. Fritz? Mike?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes. The bills, general and stormwater funds, April 1st through April 29th, 2025. We'll take that in a minute.
I move to pay the bills for the general stormwater account from April 1st through the 29th, the signing of the checks following receipt.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Steve?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes. This time we'll entertain public comments. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Do you have any public comments? Go ahead, Dylan.
Yes, Dan Swartz, 119 Page Drive. My neighbors and I would like to know if there's a plan to clean up Page Drive, get rid of the dust that's left on the road and the sand. And the second part, is there a schedule for when that road's gonna be restored? Right now, it's rutted and hazed. It looks like the shot and chip that was thrown last year is eroding off and rutting.
I'm not aware of any further plans for Page Drive.
Not to clean it up, not to fix the ruts that are in it.
I'm not aware of any of them. I mean, we've swept it,
Well, if you
cleaned
need to
up.
look at it, you see there's ruts in it.
I
and it's
haven't looked at
hazing.
it. I thought it looked fine.
Well, when's the last time you looked at it?
Whenever the last time you come over and complained that it needed cleaned up, and we went over and looked at it and cleaned it up.
It's not clean. Neighbors are all complaining about the dust. Every time a truck comes by, goes up that road.
Okay, so noted.
It's just a
We'll-
dust storm.
We'll take a second look at it.
All right, appreciate it. You really need to consider when that gonna get paved. But you're gonna have to strip off this stuff that's on there. It's coming, well, if you wait long enough, it may not May not have to strip it, it may wear off.
We'll take a second look.
All right, appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is the proper time, I have to ask you. I have comments on the naming of one of the new sections of Freedom Crider Road. Is this the proper time to? Okay. My name's David Kuzma. I live on 624 Freedom Crider Road. My wife and I have lived there for this year will be 50 years, so we've been paying property taxes, local taxes to New Sewickley for half a century. We will probably also own the property in the near future on the opposite side of the road, so we'll be on both sides of the road. We have no other options as far as the road goes, and I'm going to get into that. The other person on the road, his name is Willis Boggs. He has other options, and I heard one of them he's seriously considering, and that's he has a driveway that exists on the new section with just the two of us, and his other driveway would be on Freedom Crider Road. So there's a possibility of him moving his mailbox to the Freedom Crider Road driveway and actually retaining the same address. And like I said, I unfortunately don't have that option. I wish I could because I'm not looking forward to changing hundreds of addresses. So there's a possibility we're the only people, my wife and myself, that could be affected by this road name change. I heard that Wallace City was one of the names that was suggested for the name change, Wallace City Road, which also obviously has a name in it. My request is Catherine Drive, which is my wife's name. Would not go to a last name. I don't believe that's appropriate. We really don't like the idea of Wallace City because it's kind of confusing because from my knowledge of Wallace City, it would be down at the roundabout, which is 1.7 miles from where we live. It could possibly just cause some confusion. Like I said, I don't like that idea for that reason. But like I said, I hope you would seriously consider my request. My wife would be thrilled. She's unaware of this. She would be here. It would be a surprise. And like I said, my request is Catherine Drive, and that pretty much sums it up. Thank you.
Do you have that in writing? See you reading it there.
Well, I have notes.
Well, I was just going to suggest you give it to Ron, because it was our suggestion, the board's to go back to the people that it's affected and get their input. So that's exactly what we're looking for.
Okay,
We're not looking to dictate to anybody.
I understand. I
So-
appreciate that.
So we want to do what makes sense.
Okay.
So if you could get that to Ron, we can,
He's already been in talk.
okay.
So we-
Do you want this? Do you need this, Ron?
No, I
No.
don't.
So we haven't, to my knowledge, we haven't made any decisions on it.
Okay.
So that's in the process. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you coming.
Do you know when there is going to be a decision, or?
I don't know, do we have a deadline to make one?
No, we're not having a deadline. I mean, PennDOT kind of wants to know what their situation is. I mean, if you want to discuss it now, because it's only on there for discussion, it's not on a decision making. But each road has two residents on it. His road is shared with Mr. Bonzo's house. Mr. Bonzo referenced Wallace City Road, and Mr. Kuzma has Catherine Road. On the other road, there's two residents there, but only heard one from one, and he kind of liked Crows Run Heights Road, because it's kind of like up on the hill of Crows Run Road down there. So he had that. The other fan or resident there has not reached out to the township. So I kind of wanted to see where the township wanted to go, and kind of have a split decision on the Bonzo house there. But he said if he doesn't care for the naming of the roadway, he would see if he can move it mailbox up to Freedom Crider Road and keep his old address. He does have a driveway up there. I went down and verified that, so it'd be something I'd have. I'm not sure if it's a.
I guess,
Be here, but, well, she's at work anyhow, but this, she's unaware of this whole thing.
Ron, I think, can you reach the other person that hasn't responded?
I
Give
can
them
think of-
opportunity.
Yeah. I can
Because
think
that
of-
way, if we decide, they say, well, I was never contacted, maybe you can have them talk to them, you
Yeah.
could personally, or go see them, or
Yeah.
doing a phone call, if they don't, maybe they don't care.
maybe if they don't care, but at least, leave a message so we're on record is not going around them.
Yep.
They may take umbrage with that.
No problem. Take a field trip down there and visit them.
Yeah, you have to give them a deadline, when they need to respond by.
Yeah, I'd like to get it wrapped up by the next June meeting.
Yeah, we don't need to keep talking about it, but we need to get everybody.
Yeah, that's kind of wanted to see where your responses are at. I mean, Mr. Kuzma's been in. Okay, it's Catherine Drive in Conway, so I wouldn't suggest Drive.
Road, whatever,
Yeah.
Place.
circle, I don't know.
Catherine Ray Heights, Heights.
I mean, it is a circle, so you might even say Catherine Circle.
That would be fine.
All right, we can discuss that further then. At least we're a step further. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
But the other resident said that he's willing to move.
I have to
his-
make sure PennDOT will approve his driveway, because he has that exit out there. That's not his, I mean, they gave him a driveway down on that unnamed road. So I'd have to go down there and make sure he has a proper permit to have that exit up there.
So I guess that would have to happen either way, right? If it's not a permitted driveway, then you couldn't have a driveway there, right? So
There's one there. But
They-
his
they paved
driveway-
it.
Where his
They
driveway
paved it.
is where the mailbox is down on the other road.
like, yeah, I'm just trying to understand like what would happen if they said,
I
if
don't
they
know.
say yes, then there's no problem. If they say
Right.
no,
I don't know what the consequences would be.
yeah.
But there's other driveways on it. Mr. Baker lives right across the road. Johnson's live right across the road. So there's other driveways access. I don't see why it would be an issue.
Yeah, okay.
I would do that myself, because like I said, I have no desire to, there's no out for me, but if I could move my mailbox, they had another driveway out to Freedom Cry Road, rather than try to change hundreds of addresses, and I'm sure miss them, that would be my option. I would love to have that option, but I don't.
Okay, we'll take it into consideration and reach out a couple more
Yep.
times. and-
Yep. I'll send it out to you guys.
Very good, thank you. Any other public comments?
Laura Dingle, 425 Klein Road. Just a curiosity question on the administration item 8F for new office hours. What's led to this change, and is this to accommodate the residents or the staff?
I just would say staff.
It's a little bit of both. In the summertime, the administration office kind of winds down. It's more of a upbeat in the morning times. Between the hours of 3 and 4, it does get very slow. So it's kind of get people in here a little bit early because it's lighter out in the morning. After Memorial Day, we'll go back to the normal hours because it's darker in the morning time and lighter in the afternoon. So it's a little combination of both. I come in at 6:30 a.m. and stay till 4.
We're just something to try that they haven't done before, so we just see if we can accommodate staff a little bit to make everybody happier,
Okay.
I guess, or
I guess I'd just like to ask that you consider the residents that do have working jobs that are,
Absolutely.
and children.
is a
So,
concern. That's why it's only between that time.
right, but I'm just saying if we're trying things out, if we could try it on the other end as well, which would be like a 10 to 6, something that would accommodate people who get off work at 4 or 5 o'clock and can't get into the office during those hours because they are putting children on the bus at 7 a.m. and then going to work until 5 p.m. and then
But we're still closing before 5,
I know, and it doesn't work right now for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, this is a citizen request. I guess that would be my only comment to.
I don't know if we've ever done before. Do you, if somebody makes a request, like they can only be here at 6 o'clock, can anybody stay? Would we ever do that?
Depends on, they could call and see what their request is. If it's something that needs to be accommodated, I live a mile down the road, so it doesn't
Yeah,
big deal.
so I don't think we'd be opposed to helping somebody out if they needed it.
Okay, that's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, public comments? Any comments on MS4?
Yes, I was not at Laura Dingle again. I was not at the last meeting. However, there were 3 items that I guess there was something on the engineering agenda for some match grants, and I'm not sure if these are the same ones. The watershed restoration for Darlington Road, the stormwater improvements for Glen Rape Road. And then there was a third one that was approved for the sewage system here.
For this complex?
Yes. And I was just looking for clarification. I did see that they had posted to the website. However, the resolutions themselves didn't specify the funds and where those are coming from. Is that coming from the general fund?
MS4 funds. Kevin, why don't you, Storm, I'm sorry. Storm. Why don't you explain all that, because that's a.
Yeah, the two for Glen Rape and Darlington are stormwater projects. And then on tonight's agenda is two different funds that are out. Over a 3-month period, there's multiple programs that open up that are stormwater related. So these projects were the ones being applied for. That'll have both pipe work and ponds involved with it. And then the other one was sewage for here, which is one of the grants last month that was applied for. The match on the stormwater projects is a stormwater fund. Similarly, the match for the sewage can come out of the stormwater fund, because one of the things that under the MS4 permit is the facility is supposed to have ample sewage in like the public works garage, oil grease separators, things like that, that are part of the operations for public works. So those matches all could come out of the stormwater fund.
Okay.
So, and it was sewage for the whole facility. This building, the other two buildings, so that everything would be treated at one little plant on site, so.
And so what is that? Is that a small flow treatment? Is that 2,000 gallon GPD or?
Yeah, it would be a small flow treatment. The type, there's a couple versions out there. They didn't go to that point until we'd see if we got their grant money. So the site has been checked for if there's any sites available for that would perk, and the SEO for the township could not identify a site on the property that could meet the criteria. So that's the next step then is after we get funding that the facility could get sewage updated.
Okay.
On site.
And where do things stand with the Act 537 plan for the township? I mean, that's been an ongoing request for an update. Have we gotten anywhere with the 537 update?
There has not been a grant awarded for that yet. The township did apply and they did not get that grant. So currently it's just pending authorization from the township to proceed.
I would just like to comment to the board that we prioritize an Act 537 update. As you're well aware, the 537 has not been updated since the early 70s. And, I think before we are extracting funds from stormwater, from the resident stormwater fees to accommodate an on-lot system, that we get a master plan for the township for a sewage of, 537. We've spent an exorbitant amount on water and on a comprehensive plan update that was done last year, and I think that some of this money could be spent, and best utilized for a 537 update going forward.
It's on the, we're talking about it, but haven't made any moves forward. We're kind of wanting to get that grant. And the grant wasn't awarded, so it is part of our budget, but we're looking at a lot of things. And one of the big things is we do have a problem currently with this building. It has a bad septic system that needs fixed. So that's becoming high priority. So with the new buildings in the back and the systems we have, nobody knows where anything is. It needs updated. So part of it is part of the update. So there's a whole lot going on. I guess that probably not discussed at every meeting, but we're trying to prioritize the 537, which is an extensive update, as you know. So I'm not sure the township's ready to get into all that, because it involves a lot of inspections. And
There needs to be an impact
yeah,
done
there's going to be
knowing what that means. What that means to the residents, what that means, how all the impacts from updating the 537. And I didn't know, you said that it's part of the budget? 537
Yeah.
update is in the budget?
Yeah, it's a 2-year process.
part of it.
So
Part of it. It's not the whole. 27,000 days.
What part?
27,000.
Was that for that grant? 'Cause I'm a
That's
little shaky on where that was.
Yeah, the grant's 27,000 too.
It's under sanitation.
So the point is we know we have to do something. So we're trying to do with what funds are available, with what we can do. And in some of these stormwater funds, like the Darlington Road and the Glen Rake Road, there are major stormwater problems with major road repairs. That is stormwater related, it needs to be fixed. The drains have to be fixed first. So that's what we're gonna try to tackle with that, to start. And it's in the, in before a permit period, and there's a whole bunch going on. So we're relying on our engineer to try to keep us all straight and all that, but the new rules are coming out and we're not sure with all that. I don't think he's sure yet. So point is we're trying to do what we can with limited funds.
One of the concerns that I do have with the engineers being fully reliant on the engineers is that this engineering firm represents over 170 municipalities in this Western Pennsylvania area. And I would probably guess that close to 95 to 98% of them are MS4 participants. Again, I'd like to emphasize the fact that I don't believe that this municipality is required to conform to the MS4 permits that we have enrolled ourselves in, and there should be some, exceptions to that. So as we are fully reliant on the,
That's correct. We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't have to do it.
I think there's some controversy on that, and I think that we really need some clarification, and it wouldn't hurt to have an outside consultant. It would be worth we have an outside consultant with Cohen Law Services. I mean, we use third-party consultants all of the time. I would just like to plant the seed that the board consider an outside consultant for MS4 projects instead of being 100% reliant on LSSE. Thank you.
You have 5 board members here that he presents his findings to, and we all represent New Sewickley Township, 100%. So, and I believe he does too. He's trying to keep us in line with state regulations. So if we have questions, he answers them. So.
And he's paid on both ends. He's paid not only by the citizens as our retained engineer, but then he's also being, not you personally, the firm is also being paid on the MS4 projects and on the MS4 compliancy. So I'm simply requesting that the board take into consideration a third-party consultant.
If we could get out of MS4, I'd be the first one to sign.
So do a third-party consultant. Consult with another engineering firm and let's open up that conversation.
All right, enough public comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other MS4 comments? Yes, sir.
Jonathan Stragan, 1964 Levi. It was my understanding, though, that wasn't it the previous engineering firm that we entered into the MS4 with? Wasn't it before
Baker?
Yeah, it was Baker. It wasn't Lennon Smith.
It wasn't Baker either.
Was it prior to that?
It was another firm altogether. It was not Baker.
So the assumption that Baker's put us in this position, I think, is unfair. Assumption.
Good. Very good. Any other MS4 comments? Okay, hearing none, moving on. Treasurer's report. So I'll get a copy of our treasurer's report, information. Any questions? Item number B, approved Cohen Law Firm proposal for $7,900 flat fee for the franchise renewal negotiations and the $5,900 flat fee for franchise fee audit, $11,730 for both parties. We'll take action on that.
Do we understand the math on how this shakes out to the consumer? That for every dollar they charge the consumer, the township gets 5% of that, gets a nickel. And we're going to, by increasing the the means and methods that they use to bill their customers, is going to pass more cost on to the customer.
We don't know that.
That's the whole point
The point of
of
doing
the exercise.
the point of doing an audit. And the problem right now is we have a 12-year-old contract.
So there's two things. There's an audit, right?
Right.
So that's, you would have to recoup more than what it costs for the audit. Okay, so that's just a gamble. But to renew the negotiations, part of that process is to update the methods and means that they use to bill their customers for the sole purpose of getting more revenue, which means a higher cost to the customer. So for every dollar that they get, the township gets 5%.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that you understand the math on how that works out.
Sure. We don't even know what that is at this, we know what it is currently, but it's 12 years old. A lot of technology has changed since then.
Yeah.
So we don't know what that's gonna be, so it needs to be brought in fairness for the township, because it is a substantial amount that we rely on as township for our spending. So it could go up, it could go down, but we need to be accurate.
It's gonna go up. It can't go down. That's the whole point of this exercise, is to cause the bill to go up,
No, it's
to
still,
get more money.
you're always trying to get more money without raising taxes.
Well, you can spend less money. That's always an option too.
Yeah, that's true too.
There can be less spending, so I just, that's my concern with with these two items.
Is there a possibility that there are some things that were charged that shouldn't have been charged, some charges missed, that they may have overcharged? There's other areas that maybe they've made some mistakes and we could correct them, possibly go back, I don't know if we can, and say, look, you made some mistakes here. We want restitution on this. I mean, if your doctor tells you you have cancer, do you wait 12 years to go back and find out where it is, how it's progressing? I know it's an expense, but I think we get an audit every year here.
The audit, there is a possibility that they could find that somebody was overcharged, yeah. So the audit is its own entity, it's its own exercise. The renegotiating the franchise fees is another item, and that's where my primary concern is, because that's what's going to be ongoing for this year and for the following years thereafter, for the next 12 years probably.
No, they're gonna shorten it this time. We're gonna try to do 5
We're
years.
not gonna do that again.
Yeah, we're not gonna get wrapped into a 12-year contract again. Plus, it's gonna reflect on also Armstrong, because Armstrong will be coming out, utilities, pretty soon.
Yeah.
So we're gonna audit this one, and the other utilities will look at the same thing, that, that they have to be accurate. We don't know that they're accurate at this point. They're 12 years old. So we need to be sure that they're accurate and proper. And there may be, Cohen, I think, described that there's 65% chance that he'll find errors. And,
But if he finds these errors, it's a negotiating tactic to say, look, you've had these missed charges. This isn't my area of expertise. That's why I see it. I know it's an expense, but there's a lot of.
The audit is one thing, and that's like where you can find errors, okay. But to renegotiate and update, like I said, their methods and means, so that they can cast a bigger net to catch more dollars.
If I
But
might,
don't.
I think that there's also a perspective in this discussion that is maybe not being considered too, which is the cable franchise fees are primarily to pay the township for the ability of those entities to be located in township right-of-ways. And that does have the effect of maybe passing prices on to consumers, higher prices on to consumers based on if the fair market value for those easements have risen in the past 12 years, which I'm sure that they have. But it's it's just something that the township has to consider under the second-class township code, is whether or not it's receiving fair market value for its real estate leases, that being one of them. And it has the side effects that other leases might not have, which is the side effect of, raising consumer costs.
And as far as using a different firm to do it, Alexis says.
You're
advised
saving
us-
money. You're
advised
saving
us
money.
Because she would have to, not learn the process, but
No, I would.
basically go in and,
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with it, but not to the extent that Dan Cohen is. It would cost you more money to go with my
to have you
firm.
do it.
So that's why we recommended that you go with Cohen, is because they have that expertise that I would have to catch up on, because this is something that I've done in the past, but not all the time. So I would have to catch myself up, and they do this as a primary market, so they don't have to spend that time doing that.
appreciate that. And then to further clarify, this was on our budget last year to do. Didn't get done because something happened at Cohen's firm that a guy left and it didn't get done. So it got put to this year to, they contacted us again and said, we would like to do this, and in turn, we will give you a discount to do it. So it's less than it would have been to do this audit than it would have been last year. So it makes sense to do.
Does Cohen have any other business? Is this his sole expertise?
No,
Or
Cohen
does
did
he-
our,
does he-
Cohen did our,
Cell tower.
So,
cell tower, remember?
They
But
do
he isn't in public law, he's
telecommunications.
not in,
Correct, it's kind of like a very limited specialty practice
That's
boutique
what
law
I'm getting at.
firm that does like telecommunications and other like technological infrastructure.
so he's definitely grounded in this. his
Yeah, he's like the
expertise.
expert in the area.
Right. So if you're gonna have somebody, you want the expert, right?
Correct.
You
I mean,
want
I
a
would think
foot
so.
doctor doing your heart surgery.
Yeah.
I move that we approve Cohen Law proposal for $11,730 for both of the projects.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any additional questions or comments? Roll call.
Steve,
No.
Fritz,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Marvin.
Yes. Okay, that brings us to naming rights for the township's road, which we'd already had a discussion on. We will move past that to a future date.
Do we want to figure out like a date where we want to kind of wrap that up?
I think we gotta give Ron a chance to contact these people.
Next meeting, I wanna make a decision.
Okay.
So you'll give them like another month to respond, and then we can have a.
In June. Cause PennDOT needs to know.
And PennDOT can respond in that time, you think,
They don't care what you name it, they just need a,
as far as the driveway?
Yeah.
Okay, thumbs up, thumbs down.
yeah,
Has PennDOT pushed any further on us taking that over?
yes,
Yes?
yes.
Do you wanna elaborate, or should we just?
I'm waiting on paperwork from them. They said it's gonna be taken over by the township, and I says, well, it'll be voted on at a township meeting. They says, we have attorneys, you have attorneys.
For us to take over maintenance of the road? is
Yeah,
that what
that's
you're
what they
saying?
want, because they're small roads.
We fought it on the last one because there's a bridge
There's a bridge.
on that last one down there on, for the church.
Oh,
They didn't replace it, so
You and RJ have already looked at it.
Stone Park Quarry?
Yeah.
That bridge?
we, PennDOT didn't make you take it because they did not replace the bridge.
Okay.
And we didn't wanna take the road because it had a deficient bridge on it.
What about these two?
There's no bridges,
And what's the condition?
brand new.
We still don't want that.
Why don't, because you don't want to solve them, or why?
No, we just don't got the
It'll
money to
increase-
take care of the roads we got. I don't think we,
Discussion for another day.
Discussion for another day, okay.
Till I get the agreements or whatever it is with PennDOT, I'll send them off to Alexis, we'll start reviewing it and see what options we have.
Are
Get
these
the
roads
names
eligible
first.
for liquid fuels at all?
Yes.
I mean, not like that's any substantial amount.
No, they're small, like you're not even talking a mile for both roads.
Okay. Future discussion. Item number D, manager workshop on May 21st at 9 a.m. Information.
Yeah, so what I needed to discuss with the board is some fiscal policy procedures, a capital improvement plan. It's that time of the year to start working on the 26 through 31 plan. And I'd like to take a field trip down to the Green Valley Park to take a look at some structures down there at the softball fields and baseball fields. There's some hazards there that I would like the township to really start addressing. Dugouts, fencing, it's falling apart. I mean, it's getting old. I mean, it's 40, 50 years old already.
Need some bleachers?
Yes, and so how to tackle that, I know there's a lot of projects that come out, like this isn't just coming down there and making a dugout, or like the fencing is falling apart, there's jagged edges everywhere. So I kind of want to invite the engineer to this field trip down there to try to, how do you start trying to get funding for the park plan that's down there? I mean, they have a park vision down there from a past study that was down there. It's a beautiful plan. So how do we start to make that plan happen? How do you make a couple $1 million project actually happen, other than band-aiding and band-aiding and band-aiding? How do you make something? Because in the comprehensive plan, it talked about parking. That plan down there addressed the parking. You need some updates down there. There's a lot of safety problems.
I don't think parking has been addressed.
It has not been.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, no, it has not.
Right.
That was
It
the
has not been
priority
addressed.
to do that. So like, okay, like the plan that they have it's beautiful. I mean, if they could actually get the funding for it. So I need the engineer to come down there to say, how do you even start this? Because you've got underground water problems, infrastructure problems, and a whole redesign coming out the other end. So it's a big project. And how do other municipalities do it?
Grants?
That's what I wanted to ask.
Well, that's why we need Kevin to come down there and say,
Well,
what can you do?
Let me ask you this, Kevin, and our attorney. Can we get grants outside of the township? For instance, maybe a Carnegie grant, a Grable, there's a Beaver County Foundation, there's the Wright Foundation.
Pittsburgh Pirates?
Pittsburgh Pirates, and have naming rights. We may have to change it from Green Valley to Wright Park or something to get, and Wright is big in construction.
Yeah, so I would have to look into it, but Ron and I had kind of a conversation about something like that, and it's looked more as a donation rather than a grant. But I would have to look into it closer to be able to get you an answer.
I wrote a procedure on the naming for down there, and I sent it to everybody in December. I don't know if you had a chance to read it yet.
I must have missed it in December, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll probably put that on the agenda maybe next month.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Resend it out.
I'll tag you on it.
Great, that would be great. I'd love to take a look.
Is the plan something the rec board has, or is it the baseball softball?
Rec board did it.
Yeah, it's on the website, actually. It's up there.
I didn't know because they were talking fields, if they also had their own.
Is that the
A lot of
stamp
baseball
plan? Stamp?
is controlled by.
Yeah, that's why I wondered if they,
Electric bills and.
yeah,
they
so that's
take
why I
care of
didn't know if they
maintenance.
had their own plan that they were.
They do, they actually come in and met with us, on another workshop. They've got about 50,000 they wanna spend, because you can blow that up quick,
That's fast.
yeah.
So if Kevin is available to come down and just get a feel of what we're looking at, what our vision is, and
It just comes to mind that the Elder Road was aid in Cranberry. I think the Cranberry got a 2.1 million, I think it's 2.1.
how do you land that kind of a grant? Like,
Yeah,
what do
I
you
mean,
need to do?
they didn't even need it, and they expanded their park, 2.1 million. So, it was the luck of the draw, I seen how that happened. Everybody's name got put into a hat, they pulled Cranberry Township, so it was luck of the draw. Literally. So, we were also in that, but we didn't get it.
I didn't crinkle our name.
Ours was,
We should have had it, yeah.
Yeah.
Magnetic.
we had like a couple $100,000, and ours was little.
So on the 21st, I kind of like to get those things moving.
All right, sounds good.
If there's policies or procedure updates or something that you've got written, can you send that out to the board prior to, like maybe
Yeah,
this week?
So the fiscal policy was sent to you in last July. So I sent it back.
Same one.
Yeah, I updated
No
like some of
changes.
the years on it now since it didn't get approved last year.
Okay.
So we've been discussing it, let's because it triggers what happens with the
I thought we
capital.
went last year.
No, you didn't even vote on it. You didn't do any
Yeah.
either. We want to get a
I want
thumbs
delete.
up. It's a great plan.
Delete.
Stamp paper gonna pay for it.
Delete.
So you want to talk to, it'll improve your capital improvement plan too. Tells you how to-
Yeah, I think that's the other plan that we want to delete too. Capital.
Yeah, we should just delete it all.
I think so.
Yeah.
So, can we have those meetings, it's like 6, and then maybe take a field trip, you can take a field trip down through in the daytime?
That's up to
So
the
we
board of
can go.
supervisors, not Ron.
We can discuss those.
Ron,
Yes, sir.
I would like to be there, if you're coming down to the park at 9 AM. Unfortunately, I have a PET scan on the 21st.
Okay.
So if we can do it later in the day, after lunch,
Well, we'll have to see what, you have it,
I'd love to be there.
you have it registered, you have it advertised that it starts either at 9 or 6 PM. So the board needs to make a decision.
1 to 6 PM, what do you guys want to do?
Whatever. It needs to
Up to
be
you
done.
guys.
Kevin, you okay with an evening meeting?
What date?
21st.
21?
Of May?
Yes.
Just send it to you in yellow.
I am in a meeting from 3 to 5.
It's 6:30.
You're free, 3 to 5.
I'm in a meeting 3 to 5. I could be here by 6:30,
Perfect, that's when it starts.
so.
So change that to 6:30.
6:30?
You're saying?
6:30, yep.
Okay.
6:30. 21, 6:30.
And I
Okay.
believe you have a workshop with the fire department in May too. 13th, yeah.
It's workshop here at the park.
The workshop starts here, then we'll go on field trip.
21st at 6:30?
21st at
Yeah.
6:30.
And Tuesday, May 13th.
When's the fire department?
Tuesday, May 13th.
Tuesday, May 13th,
That's your
13th,
regular
okay.
workshop, yeah.
6:30.
6:30.
6:30. Fire department. Okay. Enough for workshops. Item number C, approve the holding tank agreement with Freedom Development LLC. That's for Little Super. Ron, you want to describe that for us?
So Little Super had a septic problem, they applied for a fix. They can't be fixed, they won't pass perk, so they have to move into a holding tank. There's no public sewage in that area.
There's 2 holding tanks at that intersection. Right?
No, Dollar General actually got a
Oh, they did give one.
system way up on the top.
That's
yeah.
true, they did. They were gonna initially start the holding tank.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Little Super tapped into the water, is that correct, Larry?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little lot for commercial use, so they're struggling.
Yep, it's tight.
I move to approve the holding tank agreement with Freedom Development LLC for Little Super.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any additional questions or comments?
Explain that to me. I don't understand holding.
What is it?
Would you explain that to me? I don't know what you mean by holding tank.
A holding
Is that
tank is a
waste,
tank.
gray water?
No, it's a tank, it's in the ground, the sewage goes into that tank and it has to be pumped once a month, or depending on when it gets full, there's alarms on it. So it's kinda like the bathrooms you have down at Green Valley Park, they're kinda like, where all sewage goes in there, it doesn't go into the ground, it goes into a holding tank, a truck comes and pumps it, then they take it to a processing tank, to a processing
They
facility.
pay for the pumping.
Yeah, it's gonna be about
They
three.
pay for the tank.
Yeah.
Is there any liability with us?
They put a $5,000 escrow account up, so if there is any issues, we have to go in there with Water Authority and their person and either repair or fix it.
Does somebody check it, say there's a leak or anything?
They're
Is there
required
any
either.
liability to the township for this, or does it fall on them?
It falls on them. They have to get it inspected and the reports have to come to the township.
Yeah, that's correct. So the maintenance responsibility and liability, however you want to put it, is on the property owner, the tank owner. And then the agreement with the township is essentially like a prophylactic measure that allows the township to, in case there's any sort of repair or maintenance that needs to be undertaken that the owner is neglecting, the township can then come in and undertake the repair or maintenance that needs to be done at the expense of the property owner's escrow account that they put up at the top of the agreement. So it's just sort of like extra protection in case something goes wrong.
Will you be writing an agreement to protect us?
I think that you already have form agreements that you use.
If we already had an agreement here, that's what you're putting.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additional comments? Roll call.
Steve,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes. Okay, we just have to approve the new office hours. Memorial Day until Labor Day, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And Labor Day until Memorial Day, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's just a caveat in there that this is one-time deal, not a permanent move.
I'd like to be a permanent deal, and if it doesn't work out, you can change it
I
back.
think we need to do it just one time. Just one time.
One summer or one
One
time?
summer, just this summer.
Okay.
And we'll see how it goes, and if there's no complaints and it works good for everybody, we can entertain it again next year. Let's try it for 1 year.
Yeah.
With that, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion, but can I make it the way it's written?
Yes.
Yeah, but we have to have one time in there. You,
How about, is there a motion to approve new office hours for Memorial Day until Labor Day, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., and Labor Day until Memorial Day, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. during the year of 2025? And then someone can just say so moved.
so moved. In the light of daylight savings, right? We'll try that.
So you.
I'll second it.
Second, motion and a second. Any additional questions or comments? Roll call.
Steve,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes. Public safety. So we've got the police report. I noticed there wasn't any school buses being, no flashing lights or compromised this time?
No, we've had some new complaints on new roads, so we're working to address those, but no violations yet.
School bus complaints?
Yes.
No kidding. It's summertime, we're getting around a bunch of.
Can't get here fast enough.
Okay. Anything else we need to be aware of?
No, they're a little busy tonight. Some
Storm.
storm-related calls,
Been generally quiet, it seems like.
I'd like to say that word, but
I hate to hesitate to say it, I know.
I have a question, please.
Go ahead.
It sounds crazy, but I watched too many 48 Hours and all those shows. Do we have any problems that you know where abduction of young children getting off the bus or people trying to pick them up at the school or?
no,
Okay, so that's, we're lucky then.
yes.
I think I've commented before, whenever I've personally dropped off my grandson at the school, Officer Jones meets him. He stands outside physically, because those kids are getting off the buses and out of cars. So he's right on it.
I see an uptick in that. I watch
Yeah,
Inside
you're right.
Edition, people were picking up kids, and there was a young girl, an older man tried to pick her up and walked her down the street. And that's, a good Samaritan stopped it.
I've seen that same.
Yeah, that stuff is bothering me.
Yep, it's a evil world out there. I just wanted to, say, give accolades to our resource officers down there. They do a great job.
They do.
They really do. And the kids all appreciate them. And I mean, when you pull up there and you see an officer standing out there, the kids just run over to him.
That's good.
How you doing?
I love that.
Yeah, I do.
I want that.
I loved it too. In fact, I tell them, I tell my grandson, you ever have any problem in school, you go see Officer Jones. you know, so, I'm sure I'm not the only one. We appreciate that. Okay, enough said. Item B, approve the annual tractor parade on June 5th. Take action on that.
Chief, what does that run from, start at?
Starts at the Grange, goes out Grange Road, down Pine Run Road, and down Harvey Run Road, and then cuts back into the student parking lot at the high school. And then it returns approximately an hour later, back to the Grange.
Okay. I move to approve the annual tractor parade on June the 5th.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any additional questions or comments? Roll call.
Steve.
Yes.
Fritz.
Yeah.
Mike.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes. Brings us to Police, approve the sale of 7 shotguns. Estimated value of $285 for 5 and $175 for 2. Police officers have the first right of refusal. We'll take action on that, but why don't you explain that, what's going on there, Chief?
So we had the opportunity to purchase 13 new less lethal shotguns at a cost of $1,800. So the current shotguns we have in use, we had those appraised, and those are the values that they were appraised at. The sale of all 7 of those shotguns is $1,775. So that transaction literally cost the township $25 to go from 7 shotguns to 13 less lethal shotguns.
What about ammunition?
So there is left over, there's 296 boxes of slug and double up buck, which is the next item there.
That's the next item come up. I'm
To
sorry.
sell those at $5 a box, which is a little more than twice as much as what our ammo supplier offered to buy it back for.
So less lethal means beanbags.
Beanbag rounds, correct.
But there, I'm showing Andrews, he showed me the gun, and I thought they actually shot beanbags. And I said, how do you get a beanbag in a shell? I'm a city getting in you. It's the shot, right? It's not a real, why do they call them beanbags?
Because it's an actual beanbag inside the shotgun shell itself.
Oh, it is a beanbag. Oh, okay, stay clear.
So it gives our officers another less lethal option, which is good for everybody involved in a situation like that.
So if a taser is too lethal or doesn't apply, then you would use that?
Yeah, the
Is that a
less lethal
second?
shotguns give some additional distance and range compared to a taser. So it's another option that could turn a very bad situation into a little better outcome.
You get more distance.
Correct.
You don't have to be 10 feet, you might be 20.
Right.
Where are these sold at? So if the police officer said first right of refusal, they refuse them, then where are the guns sold at?
So I put an email out to the officers and all 7 are spoken for. So if the board doesn't decide to do that, then my suggestion would be we take them to the gun store that appraised them and sell them for the same value.
So they got a gun, you don't put them on like Gunbroker or something like that?
It's not. I mean, I suppose if that's what the board wants, that's what we could do.
Did the,
What about the ammo?
I don't know, I know the officers are interested in some of it, but I don't know that they'll use all of it. In discussions with our firearms instructors, we may use some of the buckshot as training for the new less lethal guns. The less lethal rounds are $7 a round. So if we can use the buckshot as part of training for the new shotguns, that will save us some significant costs there.
Wait a minute, so a less than lethal will fire?
It's the same shot, it's a shotgun, it'll fire a lethal round. That's why I wanna get rid of all of our lethal rounds, so there's no chance of that happening.
so did you get non-lethal shells?
We have them ordered, they haven't come in yet. They should be here this week or maybe early next week.
So where do they get sold at, I guess? That's what I was.
So, I mean, we could put them on, we could probably put them on municipal bid if you want, starting at $5. I don't know, it's up to the board.
Yeah, I don't know where they would, I don't know if I've seen ammo on just a bit, but
It's on there every once in a while.
I don't watch it frequently, so.
Every once in a while you'll see it.
I think the officers are buying them.
I don't know if they're gonna buy it all or not. If there's left over, I can go back to the board and see what you recommend.
Yeah, I think the important thing is that separation. It's huge.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll move to approve the sale of 5 shotguns, beanbag shotguns, or just shotguns, at $285, and 2 shotguns for $175, with the police officer having the first right of refusal.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Steve,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes. Mr. B, still under police. Approve the sale of the leftover ammunition at $5 a box, 296 boxes. I take the police officers have first right of refusal with that too?
If that's, yeah.
That's the plan?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take action on that.
I move to approve the sale of 296 boxes of leftover ammunition at $5 per box.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Steve,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes. Brings us to fire department monthly report. You all got that in your emails. I got a copy here. I think we did a copy. Anybody here from fire department? I don't see anybody.
They're out busy tonight.
They're out,
I was
yeah.
gonna say I
tonight's a
passed
busy
them
night.
on 989 when I was coming.
Hope they're all staying safe. Road department, RJ, monthly report. I've seen quite a few things on there. You busy?
Yeah, been busy that time of year.
Out tonight again, a couple guys out tonight. cutting
Couple
trees.
guys out tonight, we had trees down, so we're taking care of that.
Keep us updated on that manifold for that cat over there.
I will, I'm working on it, I'm hoping to get something out of them.
Hey, RJ, I noticed you guys met with Bill Steele over at the cemetery. Did you work any plans out or any ideas what's gonna happen?
The monument place didn't show up, and that's kind of what we're looking for that.
I'm trying to figure out how to get the,
Well, it's not concrete, so there must be a
No,
plan.
well, that's the point, because we don't know how much to get. You can't just pour concrete, so
So
there
they
has to be
gotta-
some kind of plan.
we've got all the tombstones over there that are kinda half broken,
Yeah.
but there's still legible names on them, so they kinda wanna be able to display that at the, Rome Monument, which was out there in the fall, kinda said just put a strip of concrete down and he can plant them in there from that point.
They offered to donate that, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah, they'll donate the labor. They'll place all these
So
stones.
we kinda got a little bit of feel of how, where was that gonna go? And it's kinda like, it needs some excavating work there a little bit, to level it out. Can you put it down before the cement's down, or cement first, to try to get a level cross on? So there's some things we need to work out there.
Which is why Rome Monument's involved.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do, so we need to see what to do with it. So we don't have a plan, we're trying to get a plan.
Okay. So
So-
why don't we try to get a plan?
Well, we was over there one time and looked at it, you know, and there's much we can do, but there has to be some kind of design, which is what we want Rome Monuments to kind of give us a design. And with Bill Steele. I mean, I guess you can go over there too, if anybody wants to.
Have you ever been there, Steve?
Yeah.
Say, the monuments are laid out how they
Yeah.
are, and I believe that they're trying to keep something similar to that.
Yeah.
Straight line or oval or, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do we know how many there are approximately?
There's,
Approximately 60, I believe.
we did count, 62, I think.
Yeah. See, I don't know if it's just, just kind of thinking out loud here. It's better just to make like one thing with all the names on it, you know, to capture all that rather than.
I mentioned that, and
I don't
Bill
know.
seems to want to use the existing
Markers over there.
markers.
And you put markers out and potentially, you know, not where they should be, right? I mean, they're just kind of, it's like a collage
Yeah.
of of markers.
Exactly right. It's a shame that nobody kept the record.
Yeah,
What's
yeah,
what?
I mean, the kind of the names, you know, you get the names of the folks that you can get and record them and have something to.
Somebody's got a good idea.
I think at the next meeting, Steve, if you'd like to be there, I'm sure, there's another meeting scheduled, he's trying to get another meeting scheduled with Rome Monument to figure something out.
Are you guys talking about standing them up or just putting them flat?
Standing them up, I believe,
Okay.
one on each side facing out,
Okay.
so that's, I mean, I'm just, what I kinda know is going on. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have the design or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and you gotta have like a thing that says, basically that, you know, where this is laid isn't where these people are.
I think he wants to do something in the center that says something of that nature.
Right. The sites were lost and this was just put together as a memorial or something, yeah.
I believe that's the case.
It's a real shame.
No matter what you do, it's better than the way it is.
Exactly.
It is a S show.
You know,
You will not believe it when you go, we've been there, you've been there. The way they treated the property is ingrown, I mean, you don't even know it's a cemetery unless you walk around the edge and see.
Which makes it hard to believe nobody kept a record of that.
Yeah.
When you're tearing it apart like that, somebody had to keep a record, you would think. But no,
Most of it's neglect.
it's neglect.
Nobody cared.
Well, in fairness, it was all pushed to the side, and our engineer went up there and surveyed it, so we knew exactly what we were dealing with there. So you did that for us grass, we was already donated.
Pro bono.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Tim. We couldn't start without it.
Yeah.
So, and we have a kind of a hostile neighbor there
Yeah.
that won't clean up the property. It's a junk site. And we got our code enforcement trying to get him to clean it up constantly. He will not clean it up and he won't sell the property. So it's another ongoing situation we're dealing with. But we still have to do the right thing with the gravesite. So that's what we're trying to do. So trying to get a plan. Okay.
Number B.
Approve the liquid asphalts rental equipment. We'll take action on that. Liquid asphalt's Youngblood, $683,950. Russell Standard was $744,400. Rental equipment, Youngblood was $3,215. Russell Standard was $6,673.46. So it looks like Youngblood is a lesser bidder on both counts than it was before, correct?
Correct.
It still stays the same. So with that, we'll entertain a motion.
I move to award the liquid asphalts and rental equipment contract to Youngblood as the low bidder.
Second, looking at $64,000 saving.
Motion and a second. Any additional questions or comments? Roll call.
Steve.
Yes.
Fritz.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Yes. It's engineering.
Martin, I do have one more thing to say. I was talking to the chief about our recycling site down here. People are dumping illegal stuff in there, and he said the chief said without an ordinance, we can't enforce it. So we need to look into an ordinance on dumping down here, and maybe even a camera, something, because we can't recycle the stuff people are bringing. And I'm looking into another sign that says New Sewickley Township residents only, no landscapers or construction companies, something of that nature. Because in the evenings, people were just dumping whatever they want, and I don't believe it's residents. So
What do they dump?
just rocks, womanized lumber, and when we go up to the dump site, they won't take it, so then we have to do something with it. So I think it's a great thing for the community. I think that a lot of people use it, but I think it's getting abused. But the chief said he can't enforce anything without an ordinance. I'd like to look into something for that.
How would you enforce it?
Put him in jail.
Well, womanized board, oh, that's good. Yeah, seriously, how do You have
A
a camera
fine.
and you identify it, but how do you know what they're dumping in there?
So we would have to have a better camera over there to identify exactly what they're dumping, when they're dumping it, and who it is. And then it would be like any other ordinance, it would be a fine associated with, if they're putting stuff in there that they shouldn't have. And the other day, there was all kinds of shrubs with rocks in it, and it was just it was like somebody dumped out all their junk.
So the shrubs are good, but the rocks are no good.
No stumps.
No stumps.
It has to be able to be chipped and made into mulch. Because when we take it up there, they make it.
Is it clear to people what they can put in there and what they
There's
can't?
a big sign that says, I wish I took a picture of it.
Yeah.
Says
There you have it.
brush only, no lumber, no stumps, and then the other side says grass and leaves. So, I mean,
Doesn't say use deck boards.
yes.
You know, I was out there today, there's stuff about this big around out there right now. Pieces of a tree or a branch or
And
whatever.
as long as there's no stump on it, we can chip that. We can chip up to, I think, 16
Oh,
inches.
you can do that?
Yeah.
I thought that was too
It's
big
just
for
the
it to be
garbage
chipped.
that we can't get rid
Yeah.
of. I mean, people put bags in there and
Yeah.
you name it. When they're cleaning up, they're getting rid of stuff.
Yeah.
That happens at the park quite a bit too. I mean, in my weird way, I've actually climbed into those dumpsters and got names of people's mail and stuff like that. I turned them into police and
That's the only way to do it.
Huh?
That's the only way to do it. They get their name on it.
I don't enjoy it, but
No.
I had one lady, I was there for a picnic, she was unloading her truck full of garbage, and she says, I pay taxes, I can put my garbage here. I said, no, you can't.
Just write the license plate down. Give it to
So
the chief.
would we need to put a camera there too?
No internet.
You're gonna do it.
And cameras at the park is a whole other issue.
Yeah.
A whole nother-
I just want to bring it to your light that we're having trouble with it.
Okay, thanks, OJ.
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Engineer, monthly report submitted.
Yeah, we did submit our report dated April 24th. Nothing additional to what's on your agenda. I can answer any questions. Let's see.
Only just applying for grants, it looks like.
Yes.
I don't have any additional questions other than this. Watershed restoration, that's these all state grants, I guess?
Yeah, this is the next round. They're capped at 300,000 total. So you apply for 250,000 for those, and both projects fit into the category. So it's worth submitting on, similar to what you did last one. It's a different pot of money, so.
Okay.
Do these cover the cost of those projects?
Pieces of it. The last one was the same way. We're working on a design right now, but if you got both grants, it would fund the whole stormwater portion of it, minus your match, so it would be good to get them both. And that's happened before, where people get a piece of one grant and a piece of another. So, they're good programs.
Doing it in phases. There's 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
But it's gonna have to be.
When do they,
We don't have the money to
when do
do
they
it.
get awarded?
We've been hearing that they're gonna award in the fall. But we heard that the last couple years, and then it went into December. Some went all the way into February the following year. So
Yeah.
it really depends on the budget and when the board meets. And they kick it month to month, so we're hopeful that it would be September. And then you would have 3 years to spend the money. So it's a pretty good program on each one of those grants.
Anything we can do to increase the odds?
Once they get submitted, it's always good. You get letters of support from your congresspeople already, but then after they've been in a month or so, it's good to send a notice back out to them of what's out there that you've applied for, because they get asked. You're in their district, and they'll be asked if there's priorities, so it'd be good to let them know what those are.
We'll give them this list.
Yeah, I think infrastructure is going to become a hot topic over the next year also.
They're pushing sediment, big time.
Yeah.
Sediment control, I should say. Any other questions for that?
Alexis, can we do these together or do they have to be separate?
Are you stepping through this?
Yeah, if there's no questions on the report, I'll go on to the MS4. That's good for everyone?
It's good.
Yeah, that's fine if you move those together. You could say, I make a motion to approve items C and D, resolutions 1425 and 1525, when you come to them.
Okay, so I did hand out the annual training memo for the audience and some members of the board, potentially. The township's had a permit since 2004. The last permit cycle that it was updated was 2018, and the current permit is going to be reissued. You have to apply for it in 2026. And I'll go over what the status is with those. A resident did ask earlier about the permitting. I did want to address that. So we do represent 170 clients. We have about 40 clients that are permit related. Out of those, there's probably 7 or 8 that over the past decade or so that have gotten waivers. We have not reapplied for a permit for the township since we've been the township engineer. But the next round, I think we've talked before with the board, we will apply for a waiver along with, you have to apply for the permit at the same time you're allowed to apply for a waiver. So we will apply for a waiver at the same time, just to see if the department will grant a waiver to the township. The urbanized area is increasing in size in the county. So the likelihood that they would is, there's some percentage. I don't know what that is.
There's a big difference in the urbanized map from the 2020 as opposed to the 2010 census. And there's portions that were urban areas that aren't urban areas anymore.
Correct. And there's big portions now that are in.
And there's just some that's bleeding in. Most of it is just bleeding in from Cranberry.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, the department does look at that, but we will definitely submit for a waiver on that. There's many of, we have clients that only use us for MS4, so in the region, we are.
Question. Let me interrupt you right there.
Sure.
When we're talking about the urbanization area that included New Sewickley Township in this MS4 originally, I was under the impression that the MS4 was for New Sewickley Township. It's an area. It's not necessarily just New Sewickley. It's not just New Sewickley. It's the area.
Yeah, it's based on the census, and the map gets developed. It's been developed for decades.
So I didn't know this till just recently. So
Yeah.
I'm from the farm background. And I'm saying that we're way ahead of this as far as sediment control. But we don't get any credit for it.
Right.
And we haven't got any credit for it. And we won't get any credit for it because it's controlling municipal water.
Yes.
And it's not just New Sewickley, it's the area we're in.
Yeah,
Is
the
the way I
urbanized
understand it.
area is a bubble. There's
Right, it's a
places
bubble. So
in the state that you would say, well, they would be in the urbanized area, but they're not because the bubble itself, they're not inclusive.
is it crossing over into Butler County?
Oh, yeah. That's where the nucleus.
Well, that's the
of it
point.
is Cranberry. You have to have a population of over, I think, 50,000.
Right, well, they do, and they're 11 housing plans, or 13 housing plans going on right now.
Yeah, Butler County
So
has
they're increasing exponentially.
a big urbanized area growing. Beaver County does as well. There's sectors around Beaver County that are the old Beaver County, that there's new segments that's grown in Beaver County. So Westmoreland's kind of the same. And then when you get into the center of the state, there's just a big gap until you get to Harrisburg.
The other question I'd like to address is with Meadowcrest, if this ever comes to light. We've approved plans that it remains neutral as far as MS4.
Correct.
But all the plans that I've seen that's coming from Conservation District, I mean, they are just laden with sediment control.
Yes.
It's amazing that we don't get any credit for that.
Yeah, you don't get any credit for something that had to get a permit for another purpose. Unless they would build a significant amount of additional that then you could get credit for. But I'll talk about some other stuff later in the presentation. presentation, because they are changing the permit, so how credits are done is gonna change a little bit. So there may be some benefit from some of the older plans.
They're gonna lean towards these vacant farms, give us any credit at all?
And I don't think that, but I think existing ponds are going to give you some more credit.
It's not credit as much as it is the impervious area that you have to do something about.
Well, I get all that. I'm just saying, with all the vacant farms, and there's no sediment running off, there's no, I guess you weren't here when I brought in my brother's sediment control plan.
Yeah.
$180,000 plan from the state, and gets no credit for it.
Yeah.
No credit. It was, I think, 63 triaxles of manure that he's not spreading in 1 year. Gets no credit for it.
No credit for that.
It's just amazing to me.
Yeah, they don't overlap.
No.
Those plans.
So this is all something different, just to give you an idea of what we're fighting here, or not fighting, but I mean, what we're dealing with.
Yeah, different permits.
Totally different.
So as,
But if you're not in an urban area, you don't have to do anything. Except
But DEP decides who's in the urban area.
the census.
the census does, but the municipality says, we understand you're not in an urban area, but we're enforcing this over everybody, not just the folks in the urban area. So that's why the farmer has to do something, is because there's a significant, there's highly impervious area in other places is what causes the BMPs to, the requirement for those BMPs.
I get all that. We could fight about it all night. It ain't gonna go nowhere.
So just an overview of your permit. It is a municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4 is the acronym. You'll remember back, hopefully in '04 timeframe, and I'm on page 4 right now, you had to do a written plan, and that written plan had MCM 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Number 1 is public education and outreach on stormwater impacts and public involvement and participations. Number 2, tonight is a crossover of those two things. One of the things your permit, a requirement within the BMPs listed in the original permit is that you have to have on a public meeting, do this type of training for the board, because ultimately the board makes the decisions on permit compliance. And it's a time period for the public to hear about the permit and how the township's addressing it. Illicit discharge and detection and elimination, you have to test your outfalls, and the township does that. And you've always been up to date. Construction site runoff control, that's your ordinances that you've adopted, put in place for new development. Post-construction stormwater is the same thing as for new and redeveloped areas. And then pollution prevention and good housekeeping. This is one of the elements I referred to a little bit ago. Part of the permit cycle when it come out was the department starting in '04 through probably 2012, I believe, if I remember right. They had everybody go through and review their sites, their public works facilities. You guys would remember back in the day, everybody had a lot of equipment sitting outside, a lot of leaky equipment, things that were polluting the environment. And the department wanted to make sure that parks, public works garages, public works facilities, how salt's stored, all that stuff, that you have a written plan for it, and that you're addressing your pollution from your items that you own beyond the roads. In that plan, when DEP comes, they look at your facilities when they come here. They want to make sure you're compliant. It's one of the areas that they often comment on for communities. The township's always got a good report when DEPs come out and review the sites. The next item was how and when this act come out. We often get asked, what is the stormwater program? Why does it exist? It started back in the Nixon administration, the Clean Water Act.
Hey Kevin, let me ask you a quick question about
Sure.
MCM 1 and 2.
Yes.
What's the difference if this education happens at this meeting or like a workshop? How is there a difference?
They just like it to be at a public advertised meeting.
The workshops are advertised as well.
Yeah, we mostly do them at the public meeting, because of this. There's people here. And a lot of times the workshops, we get to them and there'll be one person in the audience.
Yeah.
And we try to reach, as many as we can.
But we don't even hand this out to them.
The presentation I'm giving is what the purpose of this is. It's available for anybody. It's in your records.
Yeah.
I recommend you post it on the website, so that people can see it.
Lori, can we attach this to the meeting minutes and put on the website?
Sure. Plus, you can have additional meetings. We've done that before. MS4 meetings. You can, if you wanted to have one, you could schedule them. Look at the range or, that time me and Doug invited the public. And we invited the engineer, I believe, and we had the conservation district.
Oh, cool.
Come and do a presentation. That's how we come up with the large landowners being able to create a plan and get half off their MS4. That's where that came from, was that meeting. So you can do, if you want to do additional MS4 meetings, do it. Set it up and do it. So that's the reason. It's part of the plan of public education.
Right, yeah. I just didn't see the differentiator between like a meeting tonight or
Yeah, because
a
we include
workshop.
this in your.
I just think so.
The next item that I referred to, I mean, one of the things you have to do every year is you have to report in an annual report to the department. One of the reasons you get a good report is you always follow the protocol that was set through the first permit cycle, where you have this meeting and the board has training as well as staff. We also have a training with Public Works additionally, to make sure that they're aware of the permit requirements. And then there is a $500 annual fee on page 5. The difference with the last permit cycle that came out in 2018, all the other permit cycles were just self-reporting. So you identified where all your outfalls were, you identified what stormwater controls you have, identified your systems, you did your own mapping. So everything was paperwork, basically, for no better sense, writing things up. 2018, the game changed. You had to start spending money and start building things. They had pollution reduction plan required for sediment and for total phosphorus loading for nutrients. So you had a pollution reduction plan that was developed, and over the past 5 years, since 18, the township implemented those projects. You built 2 projects, and you've reported to DEP that they are complete. So the pollution reduction plan and what was in the last permit cycle, the township has completed. What's next? So the department had issued a draft permit. Comments were due in March. The permit cycle, this next one, they changed from pollution reduction plans to volume management plans. The type of BMPs that are built from this are be required because of volume reduction, the same type that we did for sediment reduction, but they want to see that the volumes for the flooding in the area get addressed, and they want away from stream restoration. So everything's going to be pond related instead of streams.
They went away from stream.
From restoration on streams. They want to cut down the amount of water coming off the infrastructure and slow down the release rates to reduce flooding, and then that also reduces the sediment. I would think in future permit cycles, stream restoration will come back, but I think what they learned over the last 7 years, from what I can tell, is if you go in and spend a lot of money on stream restoration, but you didn't slow down the water coming out of the infrastructure and control the volume, it destroys what you did on the streams. It doesn't last. So early on, there was a big push to do stream restoration, and the last 4 years, there's been a push the opposite direction, not to do stream restoration, but to do ponds, similar to what you guys had done here. Those projects have been successful, and they look at it, you're spending the same dollar twice. Basically, that you're getting flood mitigation, but you're also getting volume reduction. So the next permit cycle is over the next year. You will prepare the permit, and you'll prepare a draft volume reduction plan. After your permit gets issued, Then you have to do the actual design work for 2.5, 3 years for the volume management plan that's developed. And then you'll have 2 years to build 2 years worth of that volume management plan. And then the cycle will go again for another 5 years. And the requirements, it took 2.5 years to develop these requirements until they finally did issue this draft permit. Construction of the volume management plan has to be done by 2031. So I think a couple things that they did with this permit release is there's a lot of pushback that folks couldn't get all their work done. So they gave them an extra 2.5, 3 years to get the PRPs done. And then they got a couple more years to prepare their plan. So the actual construction, they're giving them a little breather on spending so much money. They can build their funds back up, but then the plan's back in place. You have to keep building things come 2028.
To clarify, these are unfunded mandates
Yes.
that we've got to fund. And we also apply for grants, and we've been awarded grants to do some of this.
Yes, and the big change with this permit too is, the first permit, they left the methodology, they gave you criteria you had to follow with the methodology, but they changed this one. It's very prescriptive, that they actually provide a spreadsheet that you gotta fill all the information in. You do get some credit for past bonds, but then it turns green once you get all the information added in, or red if you don't meet your volume reduction. So they've written the background code. The other thing that's different with this permit cycle is it has things included in the form that you have to input, such as average utility bills in the community. Doesn't have anything to do with stormwater, but it's something that's in the DEP permit you have to issue.
It has social factors.
It has social factors. It has, there's areas that are environmental justice areas, which in this region are mostly along the rivers, the old steel mill sites. A lot of those are listed as environmental justice areas. If you have that, you have to identify. You have to identify what the mean income is in the community. We were very concerned at first with that. I'm less concerned now because you don't get an increase in what you have to address. But if you're a community that is on the low end of that, you may have a slight reduction in what you have to do to address your volumetric plan. But you don't get penalized for having a high income or having low utility bills, things like that. Your amount that you have to address does not go up. So there's a baseline calculation, and then it can only go down from there.
Is there some way that our local residents can say control their own downspouts?
Mhm.
They get credit off their fee?
Yeah, for the fee side of it, you can always look at ways to do credits. We have one community that does rain barrels.
Yeah.
But every year the resident has to certify and produce that they've actually used the rain barrel and that they're operational. And what we have found with those things is people, they just stop doing it because.
What do you do with the water?
Well, that's the problem.
I've
They
seen
have to
people
have-
collect it all. What do you do with it?
They have to have a use. In the end, it just can't run over. They're gotta be, gardening, something like that.
Yeah,
So
isn't there also an option to have a rain garden and earn credits
Yeah.
for a rain garden?
they can get
Like a
that.
residential rain garden?
That's all in the ordinance, that they can do.
One in
They
particular I
self-design.
saw was take the downspout off your driveway
Yeah.
and put it into your yard. You
Yeah,
get credit for that.
You can create a little
Something that simple.
rain garden of that thing, so.
For
If
most
you're at-
people,
if you're at the minimum, you don't get a credit, correct?
Yeah, you can still get a credit if you build something.
So you can get under the $72?
Yeah, you can, but the problem, it always is with them, that if you look at what it costs to build the rain garden to get you the credit, it would take you 50 years to get your money back, so people just don't do it. So, the last page is what's next. It just gives you the time frame. Again, we did talk that, we obviously, once they do put out the NOI, part of that process will be to ask for the waiver and document why we all think you deserve the waiver, and we'll see what the department says back about that. I gave some of the input on the volumetric plan on page 10. of what's in the ordinance today and what they're trying to address with it. If you remember last permit cycle, we reported on a lot of things with line water, things like that. You're starting to see some of that stuff show up now in the criteria that you're looking for, and that this volumetric plan would address as well. What are you addressing? It's Brush Creek. Right now it's pathogens, organic enrichment, low DO. So that's your impaired water and why you have to do a PRP plan. So stay tuned on it. We will give another update once the department, probably early fall, we will have to address everybody's comments. We send comments in collectively for the clients, because there's things that they ask, like for you to input what the average utility bill is. We don't know that there's a site out there that gives every community what their average utility bill is. The census does what the mean income is, but there's things that they ask for that they're not readily available. So we asked the department how and where we're gonna get that information, because, I mean, do they want a random sample? What do they want? They have to tell us. So we had a list of that kind of stuff on a boilerplate. The actual calculations that they have in there, they matched with what's in the other regulations that we've seen. And multiple people's asked, is there anything else that the department's ever put out that has the socio-economic type questions in it? The CSO policy that was put out in the 70s, it has that. It's based on 2% of mean income of what somebody's sewage bill could be, because a lot of those areas were depressed areas around cities. So when it come out originally, the CSO policy from EPA, it had similar language in it. So this isn't like cutting edge that they added this stuff. It's just different that we haven't seen.
How do we get involved in that, because all ours is rural. We don't have city sewer.
Yeah, we don't have anything with the city. So
I mean, a lot of it. But how do we get involved to get some of the discounts? Because
right. Well, the thing is, if your mean income isn't low, which here it's going to be, you know,
probably be low. 60% over 60.
It's amazing when you look at it. It's you're not on the
not on the poor side.
Yeah, you're not on the low threshold. So the other stuff, I don't think is going to move the needle for you. What does move the needle though is you do improvements. So the ponds we built, you get credit for those.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah, you do get some credits. So we
keep track of that.
Yes, you do get credits for that kind of stuff, which is good. The last permit didn't give you hardly any credits for that stuff. So, you know, I'm hopeful that they've been listening to a lot of the complaints from elected officials, that the permit seems like it's moving in the right direction. And we do have a lot of flooding in the area. You have flooding in the township that, you know, collectively, if everybody is spending money to eliminate flooding and to address volume, it should reduce that over, you know, a decade or two. But it's one of those things that you actually see a difference. The ponds that we've done throughout the area, I tell the story often in these presentations now, but we've had quite a few times where people had existing ponds in their backyards from housing plans that over decades didn't stop any water from going out. And then after we had done a PRP project and modified the orifice and cleaned out the ponds, in a big rain event like we just had, or a storm, the pond will actually fill up. And they'll call the fire department and ask if they could come out. There's a problem that there's water in the pond behind their house. And the reason is the old designs from 20, 30 years ago, the orifice going out of the ponds was like a 15-inch, 24-inch. They were really big. They were only to control the big events. Mm-hmm. Where now, when we do a pond, the orifices will be a lot of times 4-inch or 6-inch, so it holds back a lot of water from the event. So they may have a pond they've never seen water in, and now all of a sudden they think it's malfunctioning because it's actually holding back the storm water until after the storm has passed, and then it slowly releases out. So we're seeing a big impact from that.
Quick question on the pond stuff, because it's always been a pet peeve of mine. They always put this giant pond in the very choice lot of the plan.
Of development.
It's right in front, right along the road, right in the middle. Oh, you look at this big pond.
Yes.
Why can't you do perimeter?
The new regulation, actually, the latest one that's been passed, they have you do almost an alternative analysis. But unfortunately, I think you're gonna see more and more of what you just described.
I've seen a lot of commercial.
Because that's gonna be the best spot on the site probably for the
Or
stormwater.
they're coming up with the under the parking lot type stuff too,
Yeah,
with the crates, but you
Yeah.
still need someplace for the water to go.
still need somewhere for the water to go. So it is part of it. We like to see them on the outskirts, not in the front entrance, but
I
a
would
lot
just say
of
for the
times it's the
township,
best.
I'd rather see the perimeter stuff if we could.
Yeah,
So keep that in mind, you know, and that's it's still grass lined and
Yep.
still like a pond, it's still, gonna retain water. But you don't have to look at this big pond. It's
yeah.
not interesting.
Yeah, a lot of states do wet ponds. We don't do a lot of them here, but a lot of states do wet ponds, so they can be then water features.
Or like
Coming
Medicare
in the
has them
center.
dotted all through the plant.
Yeah.
Kind of spread out. It's not
Yeah, that's
a big
nice.
thing, it's nice, and nicer.
So,
So,
yeah, MS4s, it's here to stay as far as statewide, but stay tuned for next year. We'll keep you updated as things go.
Well, the other question I had is, did you ever get a look at that best management practice manual yet? Have you seen the new one come out?
I have, over the last 20 years, I've seen it quite a few times.
No, there's a new one that's supposed to be just horrible.
Yeah, they've been working on it since,
I know.
I'm gonna date myself, since about 12. I was on the initial committee, and I had a pretty significant headache after for a couple of years.
But the first one's bad, they're working on it again.
And this one's thick, and,
What
you
do they
know,
expect us to do, you know?
yeah, it's got a lot of detail in it. Right now, they're calling it suggestions, but they're gonna adopt it this year. I mean, they were supposed to adopt it last year. They didn't, but eventually, I mean, a new permit references it. So that's gonna be the details everybody has to follow. Currently, if we get an MPDS on a project, housing plan or whatever, that documents what's referred to, so.
Look out.
Yeah, it's very voluminous, so. They're not making stuff easier,
No.
so. Thank you.
I have some questions.
Oh, sure.
Do you mind if I jump in front of you? I'm trying to control my burn here, Kevin, and I annually or semi-annually, I always ask you this. Complaints for elected official, I want you to use my name when you complain. I live in Liberty Hills. It's probably 70% economy, 70, 60, 40. We're the lower end. All the rain off comes in to New Sewickley. I live behind one of those ponds. Today at the storm, the water, 4-inch orifice, was probably 6 feet in the air. It looks like little Niagara Falls. Those people that live in economy, they pay no fees. They pay no MS4 fees. We pay it not every day, I'm exaggerating, every week or every time we start communicating. Why do we have to pay in New Sewickley and economy doesn't? And I'll try to bring this down. When are they gonna come in to Beaver County and penalize you? Keep saying they're gonna do it, they're coming, you know, they're at the door. Why can't they go to economy? We hold their water. We have a detention, not retention. When are they going to start putting their money where their mouth is and penalize people?
Yeah, everybody has
We're
to.
hearing about it, they're gonna do it, we never, I'm sorry, and I'm not,
With the next permit cycle, everybody has to say where they're at in their permit, whether they've complied or not. Now, economy is on the Ohio River. The Ohio River is not impaired, that they have to do a pollution reduction plan. You have to do one because you're tributary to Brush Creek. If you weren't tributary to Brush Creek and only tributary to the Ohio River is not impaired. It's the same way with folks that's on the Allegheny. The Allegheny is not impaired, but the tributaries coming into it are, such as Brush Creek, things like that. So that's one of the reasons is they may not have a pollution reduction plan because they're not tributary. Like there's communities along 65, they're only have an MS4 and have had to do pollution reduction plans because they went into like Little Sewickley Creek. Little Sewickley Creek is impaired. So they, if all their sewers would have went to the Ohio and never into Little Sewickley Creek, then they wouldn't have had to do a pollution reduction plan. So it all depends on where your water goes and if it goes into an impaired stream. So they, and some people do not by their choice, but many of, like boroughs, they want to have a stormwater fee, so it's not attached to their taxes, but the borough code did not get changed in order for them to be able to adopt a fee. So they've had to create authorities to do a stormwater fee, where the second-class townships got it changed in their code, so throughout the state, they've adopted stormwater fees in order so that it was a standalone utility fee instead of being a tax.
Sounds like a real estate agent, location, location, location.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it
it
really
really
depends.
what happened to the regionalization of that, because like you just said, the counties in the region of New Sewickley Township, and they're depositing all theirs into New Sewickley.
Yeah.
And so is Marshall Township and Cranberry Township.
Yeah, they got permits, so. And
Well,
they're,
they got permits, but they're depositing it into Brush Creek.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they all have to report on their permit requirements, and folks over the last 3
Maybe we
years,
should send them a.
they've spent substantial, so.
I'm sorry, Gil.
They're all good.
All right.
My question is just real brief on the Act 167, that in terms of, we're looking at the municipalities, but there's county compliance that's required. So when you represent these municipalities in Butler and Westmoreland County, Butler and Westmoreland County are both DEP compliant, whereas Beaver County is not. So how, like, Beaver County does not have an approved DEP Act 167. I don't know if you're aware of that, board. But how does that affect this municipality by Beaver County not being a compliant county? And if they were, if the county was compliant, would that benefit us in any way with the waiver or with our own?
Would not benefit from a waiver standpoint. The Act 167, when they get adopted, the communities then have, I can't remember the timing, it's either 60 days or 6 months. It's within a half a year. You have to adopt the ordinance then and all the criteria within it. So when you do a 167 study, like Allegheny counties, there's certain areas then that have a 50% release rate for new development. Instead of 100%. If a county's not studied, it's all 100% release rate. Westmoreland did a modified 167, it got approved. And they did analysis, but basically based on flooding, what areas flood, and come up with what their release map is for the whole county. Allegheny County has it. Again, it was mentioned earlier, unfunded mandate. So that was passed 30 years ago. It was funded for a real short period of time in the state, and then it hasn't made the state budget, I don't think, since. So a lot of the counties have been, for decades, wanting to do a 167 analysis, but they'll cost millions of dollars to do. I mean, Allegheny County's was substantial. They'd do it in 2 phases. It cost so much money to do the analysis and that, and it's mostly a national firm that does them. I think Baker and somebody else did the one for Allegheny County, but it took years. The communities participate. It's a good process. It's just, I think out of Pennsylvania, the last time I seen a number, it might be a third have actually done a 167. I think they all want to do it, but if it's not funded from the state, I don't know how the counties could put the resources in to do it. So it's a good point, though. I mean, it can't hurt a community, it can only help.
Right.
If they would do it, so.
So, and then just final point, our permit fee is $5,000 annually to hold that permit? Is that?
Currently, it's a 500. If you
Oh,
get
500.
And it's every year. If you get into an individual permit, which actually, for instance, that's kind of what happens to people. If they don't hit their permit requirements, so you checked all the boxes on yours, so you'll stay in a $500 a year. If you don't, you go into what they call an individual permit, and it's $2,500 a year, just for the permit application to go in. Every year you gotta pay that annual fee. So, there is some teeth they put in the new reg, for that make people wanna comply and have documentation and complete it, so. But yeah, the fees, they've went up, with every permit cycle. This one, they haven't said it's gonna increase, but many of the other fees throughout the state have increased, over the last 5 years, so I won't be shocked if this went up a little bit. I don't think it's gonna go crazy, but, you know, I could see this being $1,000 a year eventually. But again, stay tuned on that. We'll let you know as soon as it happens, because it really, the fees get set whenever the new permit comes out. So that's gonna be, you know, sometime over the next 6 months or so. There'll be another ordinance has to be adopted too. They already have that in the regulations.
For this township?
For everybody. They're gonna update the standard state ordinance, and then you will have to update your ordinance like you did 7 years ago, yeah. And
You just updated last year, didn't you?
so,
We just did it recently.
Yeah, last year,
Yeah.
23, 20,
so,
Might have been last year.
might have been last
so
year.
it's gonna happen again. So,
Well,
We
thank
wanna
you.
keep our-
Thank you so much.
Okay,
yeah. But stay tuned. Thank you.
thank you, I think.
Thanks, guys.
All right, brings us to C, approve resolution number 14-25 to submit CFA Watershed Restoration Protection Program grant. Application for Darlington Road Stormwater Improvements requesting $250,000 in grant funding. We'll take action.
I'll move to adopt resolution 1425, also 1525.
Yeah, that's fine.
1525 is basically the same thing for Glen Rake Road Stormwater Improvements requesting $250,000 in grant funding. Basically the same thing as for Glen Rake Road, two different projects. Phase one, I guess you call it.
I'll second it.
Motion, and a second. Any additional questions or comments? Roll call.
Steve?
No.
Martin?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Brings us to our solicitor, monthly report.
Sure, so I haven't yet submitted a written report to you all, but we do have an executive session later this evening to discuss legal matters pending litigation. And at that time, I'd like to present a more comprehensive sort of oral report, and then follow up with a written report after we have that discussion.
Very good. Okay, brings us to monthly progress reports, planning.
Yes, so it was a short meeting this month, but we approved, Helen Baker came in 2022, she did a subdivision, now is looking to do a smaller parcel. So came in with a request for a non-plot waiver for 3.5 acres based on that 2022 subdivision. So we did, I believe we did approve that, or did a letter for that, just because it was such a new plan.
She's just moving the line is also.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we had a little bit of talk about additional ordinance review, but we have a workshop on the 7th that we hope to finalize our discussion on. There's probably about 5 items that we're working on, the setbacks, the accessory structures. Those are the biggest things we'll be doing at the workshop, and hope to have something further to discuss with you guys regarding that in a month or so.
Okay. Municipal Authority. Larry, see you back.
Hi, good evening. Work continues to progress on the water line extension. Hopefully within the next month, it'll all be finished up, notwithstanding any surprise problems. We've also identified some additional opportunities to apply for grants for both new infrastructure and for needed repairs in the Harvey Run Road area. So, other than that, everything's pretty much status quo.
You're gonna be able to do that whole Harvey Run line?
I think we're gonna have to pick at it. Because of the limitations on how much money we can raise it, we expect to receive as a grant.
Then, man, I know this water line keeps dragging on every time we hear it, 2 weeks and lots of months.
Oh, I know.
And I see that nobody's working on it. So do you have any update?
I hear intermittent reports of people working on it. I did see progress. We have some more hydrants installed. I see a hydrant laying at the intersection, ready for installation. They should be receiving the blow off for the end of the line fairly soon. I saw a drawing of that come through for approval last week, so.
So at the end of the line is out there, I think I see it sticking out of the ground. Is that the end?
No, that needs to be fused yet. They have fused some more. And then there's restoration to do for property owners.
Yep, I've seen some of that.
We continue to follow up and,
See if we can prod them a little bit. Which brings me to a question. Ron, did you submit the report, or I guess there's a report that's due for that ARCA money?
Yeah, it's all completed.
All completed, good. Comments are over.
I had an interesting conversation with a gentleman, and I am under the understanding that Lone Pine Construction is under on this project. So they bid it at a mistake rate, and there was an oversight. I want to say it was $80 a foot or something in that line. And so now every day that is passing, they are paying out of pocket. And they did try to get out of the contract at one point. However, it was unsuccessful. So I would just like the board to take into consideration when you advertise and accept bids for the, quote, lowest responsible bidder, it might be in the best interest to double check the financials of that bid instead of just taking it at surface value.
Keep taking. Yeah, we just wanted to get it finished up.
But now you're at the mercy of the construction company who's paying to do it.
I heard comments that there was some money left to cross over 989, so they're not completely upside down. So that's municipal. Okay, recreation.
Well, at our last meeting, we talked about doing a night at the races, to raise some money for the park. What I'm here today is to ask for permission to do it. We have a venue picked out, Conway Fire Hall, and we're looking at doing it in October. Basically, we're under the impression that we can raise money, but it has to be first go towards a specific item. And we're just wanting to get the okay from you guys, whether to do it or not. I think we just want to put it towards like playground equipment or whatever we.
Well, once we get permission, if, you guys let us do it, we can figure out what we're gonna do in the morning.
Yeah.
On the next meeting or future meetings, let you guys know. But moving forward, I didn't wanna keep going with this. I contacted the guy, he has his gaming license, the fire hall has liquor license and stuff, so. He said I got tentative dates set up and everything for it. We just need permission for you guys to okay it, so we can move forward. If not, I gotta call these guys back and cancel the dates.
So you're asking permission to proceed, and once you get the finalized
Yeah, we'll know at our
plan
next meeting where, if you guys approve it, we'll know at our next meeting where the money will go towards.
That's the key. You gotta specifically say what it's.
Yeah, we gotta get that policy in place too for that.
You guys are having a meeting next month, right?
Yeah.
You're not,
I
right?
mean, we'll bring it to you next month, but we just.
We can turn it into one after our meeting, the first, we have a meeting the first, second Monday of the month, so we can turn it into one, the dates, and he can let you guys know, or I can get ahold of Mike or one of you, to let you know what we decided to put the money out. But I don't wanna move forward with this without you know, without you guys' permission,
I
tell me
don't
how to do it.
wanna hinder you from raising money. If you guys wanna raise money, that's. God
What's
bless
that?
you. I don't wanna hinder you from raising money, but you gotta do it according to the standards. You know, we gotta know what it's for
That's what I'm
specifically.
saying, but
All,
I understand what you're saying.
we've been around and around this, you know, how many times?
We just need the okay from you guys to
Well,
say.
you gotta give us the specifics. You know, that we can't make a decision on what ifs. We have to know. You gotta know exactly what it's for and what you're gonna do.
I think what they're saying though is.
Just to proceed.
The money is going to the park, some,
Yeah, it
one
would
way
be
or
like
the
for
other. It's just-
facilities,
We just
right?
haven't decided
Well,
how.
playground equipment's a big item. I mean, if you're gonna do that,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is,
it's
you know.
$100,000.
That's the delineator. You don't have to say this is for a sliding board and this is for a swing set. It would just be, this is gonna be towards, you know, a facility.
I don't have any problem with it. You guys?
I'll make a motion, we, helping us to purse.
Well, do you?
You have to add it to the agenda.
Yeah, I don't think we need.
So, moving forward for things like this, it would be helpful maybe if there was like information provided ahead of the meeting, for the board to look at. I don't know if there was or if there wasn't, but that way we can have an action item on the agenda prepared. I'm just trying to think. I don't think I know enough about this to say whether or not it would be appropriate to amend the agenda, to add this item. Ron's shaking his head.
No, we didn't add the, there's already a point to add it to the agenda in the beginning of the meeting, and you didn't bring it up that you needed to do this in the beginning of the meeting.
Well,
Plus,
even-
you should have given us something
When was
ahead
the
of
agenda meeting?
You should, I get that, but you should have given it ahead of this meeting.
I mean, you can email Ron at any time with items like that, but even at the top of the meeting, when there's an opportunity to amend the agenda, it still has to be appropriate per the Sunshine Act. And so that means that it cannot involve approving the entering of contracts or the expenditure of money. And I think that to move forward with something like this, unfortunately, there would probably have to be contracts signed off on or money spent in order to reserve spaces and things like that.
What you're saying is you have to work this all out before a meeting.
It's
So that we-
unfortunate you didn't have an agenda meeting.
We was under the understanding this was an agenda meeting and a township meeting, because you're not having the next one.
We're not having the next
month.
meeting.
Right.
So that,
So, we want to just move forward with this. If you don't, if you can't do it, that's fine. I just call and cancel all the reservations.
but what she's also saying is you can send all that information to Ron ahead of the next meeting.
We will
So
do
we
that.
can have time to,
That won't be until June though, right?
that's right.
So you need to
That's
get,
not gonna give us a
you need
lot
to
of
get your
time to get-
contract with Conway.
Huh?
You need to get your contract with Conway for reservation of the hall. That has to be brought to us, it'll be reviewed by our solicitor.
I have all the information right here.
Well, you need to get that all to me.
I
You have
can
to
give
do
it to
that.
you?
You have to
We'll
get
give
it
it
to
to him
me.
right now. We'll give it to him.
We can't take action on it tonight, is what the
Yeah,
point.
we'll give it to him at our township meeting.
Right.
Give everything he needs. And we'll get on the agenda,
That's how it has to be,
okay?
okay?
And one other thing, I was talking with Ron about, we have Novak Auto Parts, the one that gives us $3,000 for continued naming rights on the amphitheater.
Yeah.
Just wondering if Ron had a chance to talk with the solicitor.
We were working at.
Yeah, I'm still looking at it, and we'll get that resolved ASAP for you guys.
Do you think it's gonna be an issue, or?
I think that there's a broader opportunity there for you, to consider. So I wouldn't couch it as an issue. I think it's a bigger opportunity that you have.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, thanks, man.
Hey Dave, a couple things that I had, I've been being asked by a lot of folks in soccer, baseball, like where they're kind of unclear on the direction of the park. They kind of hear that, that this is gonna be built here, that this is gonna happen there. There's a lot of just noise that's going around on what's going on at the park. I think it would be kind of a good idea if some of the leaders in these groups can come and meet and talk with you guys, because they have questions.
They have an open invitation to come, they just choose not to. I mean,
They have ideas, but they're apprehensive about trying to move forward with them because there's a lot of uncertainty.
The only thing we're planning on building is a walking trail and doing a frisbee golf area up in the upper park.
Yeah.
That's, we ain't building any buildings or anything like that.
But there's just stuff circulating, right? There's just this noise that goes on. I'm sure that you hear noise. We all hear the noise.
Both organizations come once a year to a meeting, and it's in January or February, and then we don't see them the whole rest of the year.
Yeah. So I think it might be a good idea. I don't know if they can come to, because you guys have your meetings at the park now.
Yes.
Because a lot of times in the evenings they're doing their thing, right? So if we can kind of work something out where people can start getting together at some point to start having discussions so we can get a collaboration of ideas on what they're all thinking.
I mean, we've tried to, you know, like soccer, we've invited them to come and tell us what their plans are. They don't come. I mean, we don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, we invited baseball and softball at the first meeting. They informed us, you know, when their tournaments were, and we asked them if they would possibly do some a baseball tournament, a softball tournament for community days, and they seemed very willing to do that. So, but again, you know, they know when our meetings are.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know if those times, like we might have to broker some maybe phone calls.
Can't tell me all the members of the boards on baseball are all playing that particular night though.
Hey, I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know. I mean, but that's just all I'm saying is I'd like to have some discussions. Maybe not.
Well, whoever you're talking to, tell them next meeting is second Tuesday of the month.
So you guys
Second Monday of the month.
So you guys are firm that the only conversations you want to have are at the meetings, like.
No, I mean, I'd be open to meeting with them, but, you know, I don't know whether the rest of the board would be. You know? Cause, I mean, we're entering into our busy time of the year, and, you know, are they gonna wanna just meet for another meeting, you know, when they could come to our regular meeting?
But I see what Steve is saying, it's a specific meeting for that purpose, as opposed to just an open where they don't know what you're discussing. I get it from being on other.
Yeah.
And I'm open to it. It's just,
Okay, all right. So
they need to get a hold of me and let me know.
all right, we'll see what we can get together.
Okay.
All right. That's it. Code enforcement. You guys should have got a copy of the code enforcement. There's only a couple things on that. Zoning hearing board, 657 Feasel Road and 197 Miller Road. Feasel Road got decided, I think.
I don't have anything.
I don't know.
Yeah, they both were approved.
Both were approved. Brings us to board comments. Any additional board comments?
I'd like to schedule an executive session to talk about the police contract.
Good point. Yes, we need to do that.
And also the folks that'll be attending the arbitration. I'd like to cover those two areas.
So you can schedule an executive session for any time, at any time, you just have to announce it at a public meeting.
Yeah.
And it can be after it happens that you announce it.
You can just have a jump executive session, jump call.
Yeah, definitely. You just have to announce it after.
May 8th and 9th is open for the police contract.
Are you guys open to phone calls? Just, or you prefer in person?
I like it in person. I think we ought to get together. We ought to sit down and look at it. See what everybody thinks. I don't care where you want. May 8th and 9th at 6:30.
How about the 8th? 9th's a Friday.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thursday night, May 8th.
Okay.
6:30.
No.
Okay. Any additional board comments? Motion to adjourn. Any second? Second. All in favor? Everybody say aye.
Warm in here.
It is warm here.
Oh my god.
So they're going into executive session now? And they didn't announce it?